Hello, this is Simple SolidWorks. Last week I had an episode in which, not an episode, an incident in which somebody stole a package from my front door. Um, as frustrating as that could be to anyone, I started to do some research and find if there's a way that I could avoid somebody from stealing from me once again. As I did my research, I found a very good YouTube video of a what I call a anti-pirate porch box. The video was very informative. It had a lot of good tips. It had a lot of good dimensions as far as what you need, but I felt like the dimensions were uh, not as clear as I would like. I like to have all the numbers right, so I was kind of trying to write down all the numbers and try to come up with the right look. So I decided to, of course, being that I'm a SolidWorks user, I decided to make the model myself. So what you're seeing here is a visual representation or a CAD representation of their video that they made. It's a very good video, by the way. I'm going to be posting a link to their video on this one here, so you can go watch how they did it while you can look at this model here. Because on this model, I'm also going to be including PDF files that I created of this particular model with all the dimensions and all the parts that you need to sort of make it. Um, so what you're looking at here is a modified version of theirs. If you notice, when you look at their video, they have this link that this particular part here that they purchased from Amazon. I decided that you could probably take this piece here that I'm looking at right now and actually turn that into a piece of wood and sort of get the same effect. It seems like their linkage that they use, you have to buy two of them, and I think that it might cause some problems in the future right around this area. So I think if you just cut a piece of wood and you sort of round it a little bit, or just keep it square as long as you make a hole in the middle here and put a screw or a bolt through there with a nut on this side with a washer, it should work. I also included the length of this and the location. You're going to have to play with that location as far as what the distance is from here to here, because every person might want to do it different. I decided to do it this way because on the original layout, when you drop this particular lid down, you notice that on theirs, this particular lid goes further deeper. It's deeper down. So it would only fit a package about 6 inches tall because, it needs to come up, right? It needs to come up. And if it goes up and it hits that package, then it's not going to come up. Or if it's a big package, it's not going to close either. So I decided to use a different size for that lid. And then on the top here, what I decided to do was I decided just to put a secondary seat because the lid was shorter. Therefore, it created like a little possible way for them to get their hands in there. So I decided to put a rubberized, sort of like a rubber style, vinyl style uh, portion here with a cut through here so that this is vinyl. It's kind of flexible in a way, and a person can then won't the package will be able to go through, but if someone to stick their hand in there and grab the package and try to pull it out, it's gonna create a pinch point. So it's not gonna make it easy for them to get it out. So that particular change is not part of their drawing. It's part of my idea. Um, I think that this will probably help with now you can actually drop a bigger package. Um, not as this is not a small box, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to drop a big, gigantic 32-inch TV through there, right? This is just for packages that you might miss because you might be out of work, right? So now you have this lid, and if you look at the distance here from here to here, sometimes from here to here, okay, And let's grab the lid here, here, and here. And now you can see that it's dropping. You can almost get almost a 16 or a 17, maybe a 16 and a half package high in that area where somebody can drop it in there. If it might not be able to go through, but at least you have that option. It might, the restricting part here is it's how it's gonna flow from here to there, right? That is the kicker, right? If you drop the lid, this is pretty much how much the package can be depth-wise, right? Height-wise. It's going to be probably 13 and a half, right? To play it safe. When it drops down there, boom, it's going to then you have several packages that you can accumulate there. But you can't be any wider than this because then it's going to get lodged in there somehow, and then you won't be able to open up the lid. But by changing the size of this, I opened this distance here. Before, you can only fit like a 6 or 7 inch package, something small like an envelope. Um, so now it's a little bit bigger. You can have a little bit wider opening. But again, their idea is really good. I really enjoyed watching their video. I learned a lot, by doing this project, um, and I was able to get a lot of good ideas. And I will build this. And now I have the drawings for it. I will get down there and start getting some materials because I really didn't like that experience of ordering a package and going out there and seeing that it's gone and missing all that fun stuff. That's never fun. Um, so I went ahead and created this drawing, this SolidWorks design. I have several configurations of it just to see what you're gonna need in a way. They have a good parts list. I was able to go to McMaster-Carr. I don't know if you might be familiar with that or might not be. Um, if you are familiar with McMaster-Carr, they have a lot of good products that they sell on the internet. You can pretty much get their product list, and it's very helpful. They give you a nice parts list, and it gives you can pretty much order from them. MasterCards for me has been I've used it all the time as a designer. They even have it right here. If you notice around this area, I have it embedded in SolidWorks so I can get that parts list. So right now, if I click on this, it tells me all the stuff that I need for this particular project hardware wise. Now the wood and all that's not included in MasterCard because they don't sell wood. They specialize in little tiny little screws and handles, and you can get this particular part right here, this latch here. You can get the bolt. You can get your hinges from them. There's several hinges in this project, so you can pretty much get a lot of parts from them. Um, so let's go look at the drawing so you can see what I did. I created a set of drawings. Okay, so the first page, you're going to notice that I just have an overall look of how how the door will look like right now, since I have this particular configuration. But I can just change the configuration here to default, have it back closed in the way I really want to see it. This is how the look of it so far. That's sheet 1. On sheet 2, I decided to give you an overall height and width of this whole gadget, right? Of this box is about 3 feet and 5 7/8 high, and about 2 feet and 4 inches and 1/8 width wise, and the depth is about 2 3/4, 3 inches and 3/4. So I put it in inches. It might drive some person crazy if they're from Europe or something like that. Just grab your calculator, you should be fine. On the third sheet, I added all the parts list of all the things that you're going to need, 2x2s, but these are might not make sense to you right here because I'm asking you to build. You can add up all these here, but they all have different lengths, and you'll see that in a different sheet that I have. But you can have, if you go to McMaster-Carr and you punch in this number, it'll tell you exactly the size of the screw that I ordered. And you can get that from the hardware store. You can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or any local hardware store that you have. As long as you know what you're looking for, it's right here. And I have these as left side, back side, right side. These are all going to make sense as you go through progressing through the drawing itself. Um, and then it has pretty much all the parts that you need here, right? So then on sheet 4, I started to do the, the framing of it, right? So that's side frame 1, and you're going to see that that needs a 2x2 2x2s, but they have different sizes. So even though they have the same description here of 2x2, you need to cut one at this distance, at this length, and the other at that length. So then once you have all those parts together, you frame it in, and then you're going to need these screws to tie it all together. So that's what I'm sort of have 1, 2, 3, 4 screws to make it work, right? So that's how this is how that particular area is going to look like. So then sheet 5 is almost the same, right? You have sheet 5 and this side frame 2, which is the opposite side, and it has the same distances, but I just wanted to have that included separate because when you go to the next phase of this, right, you have this phase, the next step is you're going to put this all together. So on this particular sheet, you're going to take, side 1 and side 2, you're going to grab these parts here. These are the screws, sorry. You're going to grab this part right here, which is number 5, and you're going to cut it at this dents, and you're going to put it all together, right? And these are the boards that go on top of this, and then you use the cut length that they have indicated here. So if you look at this, it says number 1. This is number 1 over here, and that's the total length of number 1, right? And I'm telling you where you need to sort of make a pilot hole. Get into the use of making pilot holes, right? But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you're pretty good with working, you don't need pilot holes. And this is number 2, which is the both sides, right? 2 on one, and you're gonna have 1 on this side over here, right? So that's how that works. Then you have this vinyl cut. This is the one that I'm talking about, where you're gonna put this in another drawing further down, but you need to sort of, if you can find, go to like a fabric store and get yourself a nice rubberized vinyl. Then you're going to cut it to this particular look, and then that's going to go, when you go to sheet 6, that's going to go right at that spot right there, right? You can put it there, or nail it, or staple it to this area, however you want to have it. So at the end of this whole thing, your framing, as I call this, should look with this distance, this height, and so, okay, so that gives you that particular look. Then you go to sheet 7, and sheet 7 is going to talk about, now you're looking at the left side. These are the exterior portion of the box. Now this is going to make more sense if you just look at the video that I'm going to put the link to. In that video, you're going to be able to see how she makes this process happen. But you got to follow. You can follow the video and look at these drawings that I made for you, and then you can say, okay, this makes sense. I know that I have to follow this layout to make it work. And this is the cut. This is the materials that you're going to need to make this happen. Okay, so sheet 8 is also the same. It's more the same, but you can watch the video to actually make sense. Okay, the back side. Then you have, oops, okay, this should be called something else, but this is going to be, should be the left side, not the back side. Okay, so you have the left side, the back side, and this should be the right side. So let me change that real quick here. Right click, edit sheet format. Let me change that. And I'll make another print of this. Make sure that that's posted correctly. And there. So that's the right side. So you're working your way around. That's the right side. And then you have the door. Again, the same process. They'll tell you exactly how to do it in the video. Then you have the top lid. This is where the handle is going to go. You'll see that in the video as well. And this is the part that you'll need for that. Again, these numbers are just McMaster-Card numbers. You can go and find out what they are and look them up and get whatever you need, right? Doesn't have to be McMaster-Card. Here I decided to do a quick little parts list that you're going to need to sort of make this whole, like the hardware wise. You know, you got your hinges, you have that bar that I was talking about, which I can add a little dimension to that. Okay, here to here, and I'm going to try to make that. There's this little button. So many buttons. If I click on that, let's say, okay. So you have that, and you have that diameter there. So, okay, so you have that part there that gives you sort of how big you want to make that part. Again, this is something that this bar here that I made here, you can make this however you want to make it, as long as it makes that piece of board go up and down. Okay, this piece right here is the key to all of that. Those brackets that you saw connecting to that, you can get that from the hardware store. Again, you can just order what they have in their video. Again, this is just a suggestion. They have a good video where they put all the description of all the links and all the parts that you need, and you can get them from Amazon. So you can either get their link or you can do your own, however you feel like it's more comfortable for you. So then sheet 13 gives you like a little, again, this is pretty much what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. You can, so that is how I sort of approached this. Again, I wasn't going to go through the process of how I made it. That would have taken a lot longer video for me to do that. But it does give you an idea that you can, if you see a video on YouTube and they give you all these parts lists, you can go in there and sort of say, you know what, I'm going to make it in SolidWorks and see if it makes sense. Like when I made these boards, especially I had to find out the actual size, you know, like the actual cut that is made, because you know when people say by a 1x4 wood, it's really not 1x4. It's really probably 1 1/3 with 3/4 by 3 3/4, right? It's actual cut. So you have to be careful as a designer when you start making something that someone else tells you to do, right? You got to make sure that you get the right standard and while you make your design. That way, when you make it, it sort of falls in that same idea that the engineer has. You know, the designer is his responsibility to make sure that he's following the standards of the material, and so that the whole design could be completed per the engineer's idea, right? It's not the engineer's job to, you know, he has the general idea, but here's the designer's idea. It's his mindset that sets everything right while he's making these drawings. So I'm going to be posting the link to that video from the other people who actually made the box. I'm also going to be posting a link to these drawings that I made so that you can download these files and you can try to make this box yourself. And after that, if you feel like you want to leave some comments and say, hey man, didn't work or worked, I appreciate it. Please put that in the comments below. And if you have any other suggestions of any type of other box that you would like to see being made, and you don't have an actual drawing of it or just some parts of it, you can, you know, put it in your comments and say, hey, look, I have this box that I would like for you to make, or I have this idea that you would like to make, and just put a parts list, and I can also make that part of my make another video and show you how that works. So I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope for you guys to subscribe and give me a thumbs up and say, hey man, this worked for me. So I appreciate that, and thank you for your time.